Hi. Thank you all for coming. So should we start with introductions? So we'll start with Harry, and then Yanina, and then Lewis, and then Beatrice. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Harry, or if you're Welsh, I'm Harrod. And I'm at Jesus College doing engineering, originally from South Wales.
All right, I'm Janina. I'm at Pembroke College and originally from Germany.
Hi, I'm Lewis. I'm from Southwest London and I'm also at Jesus doing engineering.
Hi, I'm Beatrice and I'm at Hertford and I'm also originally from South Wales.
Ooh, that is a diverse group. Hi, I'm Dami. I'm also a second year engineer. I live in East London, but I also grew up in Nigeria as well. So we're going to be talking about our engineering interview experiences, if you guys can remember, because that was a long time ago. So the first question is, it's quite general, so you can talk about anything. What was your interview experience like? So go in the same order again.
I think for me, my general interview experience was super positive. I know not everyone says that, but for me, I found it really enjoyable. I think the difference was that I don't feel any pressure before the interviews. So I literally, the night before the interview, I spent just watching I'm a Celebrity with just other people who were there for their interviews. Didn't do any work or anything. And I think that just put me in the right mindset for the interviews the next day. Found the tutors really helpful, supportive, and not particularly intimidating. I think the instant I stepped into the room, I was like, this is scary. And then the moment I started talking, I just felt completely fine.
Yeah, I would say pretty much the same because I was told before like the tutors are really scary and stuff, but it wasn't like that, at least at the colleges that I was interviewed. And to me, it felt more like a trailer to something that I really wanted to like watch or take part of. So yeah, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, honestly, I'd probably echo what the others have said already, but it of course felt, quite nerve-wracking just before. But honestly, once you're in there, you're sitting down, you're pretty much just talking about something that you want to do, and it is just like a chat with someone that knows a lot about the subject, which is quite, it's actually enjoyable to an extent, albeit very nerve-wracking as well.
I agree. I definitely think not working yourself up, although it's easier said than done, is definitely better for you in the long term, because if you walk in just trying to give it your best rather than I have to get in, it makes it a lot more enjoyable for you, and also, just being more relaxed, you can give it your best shot, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone has said as well. I think I was really scared before the interview, and I feel like looking back, I was a bit more scared than I should be. Because interviews are supposed to be like your tutorials, and I look back at the tutorials that we have, and I just can't believe I was scared of these people. Because they're so friendly. It's natural to be afraid, but it's not as scary as everyone makes it sound. Right, next question is, what were your questions like? Do you remember any of them? What style of questions were they? You can start with reverse order, actually. We'll start with Beatrice and then go to Lewis, and Nina, and then Harry.
So I had 3 interviewers and they each asked me a question. They were all lovely and they were all willing to give me tips if I got stuck at one point. And I found the questions were not as scary as people make them sound. So the first question he asked me was something I'd already covered in A-levels. So it really made me feel comfortable, and it was a nice way into the interview. So they will not put a really difficult question in front of you first thing. And if you do get stuck, they're more than willing to make it more of a discussion than anything. So I wouldn't stress about it.
I know that if I explain too much about this interview, then Harry is going to not have a whole lot to talk about. But I remember one question that I was given towards the very start, and they could tell that I was really nervous about it. It was about, I think it was chain rule differentiation, and it wasn't anything too complex. It was something that I'd already learned, but at the time, in the circumstances, I sort of froze, and they walked me through it. It was as if they were trying to teach me, not trying to quiz me on that particular topic specifically. And that, I think, really settled me and helped me progress further with any other sort of questions that they had to ask. It was almost like they gave me an example because I really was struggling, and then they gave me another question very similar, and I was able to answer it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that in Oxford and Cambridge, the interviews are more like questions to do with your subject, and not like in the normal interview where you're just asked about yourself, like why do you want to come here. I think I was asked in my 2 interviews, I was asked 1 question about my personal statement, and the rest was literally just like questions that you might find in the PAT, but a little bit easier, so it's just a bit quicker to do than the PAT questions. And yeah, so basically all the questions that I got were ones that I had, like, they were in the style that I expected. So I also like looked at Isaac, I think it's called Isaac Physics, that website, like that really helped me, and they were all in that kind of style. So
for me, Lewis and I had the exact same interviews because we had one in Jesus and one in St. John's. So we had exactly the same questions. If I remember rightly, both of them were split into a maths section and physics section. So my first Jesus physics section was to do with a mass sliding down a ramp. So you had to draw some kind of a graph for that just to explain. Dami knows too. And then the maths question in that one was, like Lewis said, there was one to do with the chain rule, which I remember I froze up on that one as well. And I forgot what the word for chain rule was because I did maths in Welsh. So I had to just explain the chain rule as opposed to just saying the chain rule. And then there was another maths question as well, where they asked us to work out what I think the sine of an angle was, but obviously we didn't have a calculator, so we had to go about it by our own means, which I won't give away too much about that because you can work out how to do that yourself. And then for St. John's, the maths question, it was a very typical one, a graph drawing one. So we were just given an equation and we had to draw the graph, so look at asymptotes, symmetry, etc. And then the physics question in St. John's, I think, was the hardest question that I'd got, and that was we had to build a differential equation to do with the motion of an airplane, but they really led you through that question quite well. They didn't just say, okay, here's a thing, work it out. There was a lot of discussion, and I think if you get a question like that, it's not always a bad sign, and you shouldn't think, okay, I didn't tackle that very well. If it's hard, it's probably because they've pushed you. That's all I got. Oh yeah, and there was one question about why do you want to do engineering, but I think that was just a bit of a throwaway question.
Yeah, I feel like, I agree. Like at the end, I got like the random, also why do you want to do engineering question, but I didn't feel like that was important. I got similar questions as Lewis and Harry, like the slope one, the cos of an angle, which I didn't know how to do because like I just wasn't ready. And like what you do find sometimes in interviews, you forget like really simple things. So I think there was a time that I was just questioning very basic things like, can I add numbers this way? It had to like tell me like, pause, think about this, you're doing okay. I had my second interview at St. Peter's, and I'm just gonna say that one. Like you sometimes you leave the interview feeling like you've done bad, but like obviously I didn't do that bad because I'm here. I just remember that they gave me like some device to look at and like talk about what was going on, and I had no idea. And I think I spent too long looking at the device that they had to tell me to put it down. But like they'll
step away from the device, Dami.
Like, I think you've fiddled with that long enough now. But they guide you through the questions and they're really friendly as well. Another type of question that came up with mine was like a design question, which I'm not sure how often that comes up, but they're talking about like how do you design tires, like what do you consider and factors like that. So apart from the maths and physics ones, you might also get like a more design type question. Great. Okay, cool. Next question is, what do you wear to an interview? Because I feel like this is a question I had. Obviously it's online this year, but even then, like some people might still want to know, what do you wear? Order. Let's go Lewis first, then Yanina, then Harry, and Beatrice.
Okay, so I know that beforehand, a lot of my school and my peers were saying, "Oh, you've got to turn up smart. You've got to be well dressed. You've got to go in a suit or something like that." I came from a school where uniform was compulsory, so I've been wearing like a suit jacket and tie and blazer and everything throughout my whole school, and I didn't want to, so I wore something a little bit smart, but I don't think it's particularly necessary. You could probably wear whatever you'd like. I just wore like a sweatshirt and I think like a polo shirt underneath. I know I saw people in full suits and I saw people in hoodies and jeans, but I feel like a balance would probably be the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I don't think they're overly concerned about what you wear. Like what I wore was just a jumper and jeans, and I mean, I actually in the JCR you see what other people are wearing, and there were like a couple of suits. There was one person who was literally wearing like tracksuit bottoms. So you can do whatever you want.
I think what you're wearing is just kind of the least of your worries, so don't panic about that too much. I wore basically this, so I don't know, just like trousers, top thing. I had a scarf as well. I would just say don't dress inappropriately. So like I don't know, don't go in a bikini, I guess. But like, but ultimately it doesn't matter. They're not going to turn you down because you wore jeans.
Yeah, absolutely. I opted for like something comfortable. So yeah, I guess wear what you're comfortable in. It's not really a major part of the interview process, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, with everyone, like as Beatrice said, like wear what you're comfortable with. But yeah, do wear something as long as you're comfortable in it. I guess the next question would be like, do you guys have any general advice or tips that you think is really important and that you wish that you had known? Like just anything. Oh, I keep forgetting. So you need it first.
Okay. I'm not sure, but like the thing is, obviously it's easy for us to say, oh, the interviews are fine because we got in, you know? But like honestly, I think it's important to not be too stressed about if you get in or not, because at the end of the day, whether you make it in or not is like it's not gonna have that big of an impact anyway on your life. It's just like this would be nice, but also another uni would also be nice. So I guess be more chill, and also be when interviews are in person again, just like try and interact with the other people at the interview process. Yeah, I'm sorry to everyone who's got them online.
Lewis,
Is it me now? Sorry. So again, echoing that, try not to stress too much. Also, definitely, if and when interviews are back in person, meet up with people, speak to people. Try not to get drunk the night before. I know people have done that in the past. I don't think it has ever turned out well. And there is a website that I used to get some interview questions. I think it was iwanttostudyengineering.org.
Yeah.
I feel that might be wrong, but you'll probably get it if you Google something similar to that. They are quite helpful. They gave quite helpful questions that are of a similar level of probably the interviews. So,
Harry?
Ooh, I'm gonna go out and give some rogue advice. I'm gonna say don't Google your tutors. That was the thing that freaked me out the most before I went to my interview. Was I Googled my tutor and I read the little bios and like that said that they did all these amazing degrees and had all these awards and stuff. And I was like, oh no, I'm so inferior. But like you're not. They were in your position. They were literally sat at that desk like in front of another academic. It's just. It's a different part. You're in a different part of your career to them. So like don't Google them. There's no point. And then on similar lines of what everyone else is saying, one of the most useful resources that I found was a book called Professor Poby's Perplexing Problems.
Yes.
Professor Poby is actually a professor here at Oxford. He will teach you. He'll do a poetry thing with you. I won't say any more about that. I won't spoil that. But basically, this book has just a lot of interview style questions, really. It was useful for the PAT as well. I expect if you're watching this video, it's probably too late for that. But you know, to help with your interview, it's definitely useful to use as much of your resources as you can. And there is a free PDF online as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Beatrice.
Yeah, I would say that all these resources that you guys are mentioning are like so important, and you should definitely have a look if you feel like it would benefit you. But definitely don't overwork yourself in the weeks coming up to the interview, especially because they don't really give you that much heads up. It's like a week beforehand that they let you know, and it's better just to take it slow than overwork yourself. And also here in Oxford, it's not all about the interview. Like, do have a look around at the city and, you know, make the most of it, take some pictures, go to a cafe if it's, I mean, unfortunately, if you can't come here in person, it's a bit difficult. But point is, it's not all just working and being stressed. Like, do enjoy it, try and get the most out of it. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, I actually just remembered that I asked my tutor once I got in. I asked my tutor, so what actually makes a successful applicant? And the thing that he said was like the most deciding factor is if the student talks through their answers, like, because the most frustrating thing is if the student is silent, like it doesn't matter if they like do everything correct and do everything quickly, but they want to see your thought processes. So that's probably the most important thing in your interview, to just like talk, even if you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, so this is great. I actually leads on to my like point about the generic like advice that they normally give, like think out loud. Draw a sketch, because even now I still struggle with drawing sketches in my tutorial sheets. Draw a sketch. Think about what happens in like the physical case. Like, does that match what you've done? Also, if you're stuck and you don't know where to start, just say some things out loud. As long as there's like some ideas, like it'll be fine. Also, practice your graph sketching. That is something I really wasn't expecting. Practice days. And also, one that I struggled with as well was knowing general amounts. So like, till now, I still struggle to know how much a person weighs. I remember one of my first tutorials of Harry, and we were asked like, how much does a car weigh? And we just sat there like.
We were both in silence.
So like, general approximation, the density of water, I don't know, like how much is an atom weigh, random things, like just have an idea of like general measurements would be great. So final question, because I think this is important. How would you guys approach a question that you don't know how to answer? So if you're given a question in an interview and you have no idea, how would you approach it? So let's start with Harry, Yanina, Lewis, and Beatrice.
I was actually thinking this for the interview advice, but I think something really important to do in your interview is not to wait for the tutors to lead you, but to take initiative and try and lead yourself. Just because I think they want to see someone who can think for themselves, even if you don't know where you're going. It's important to just kind of give them something to work with, and not just wait for them to give you the answer. So like, if you're not sure what it is, then say, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Don't just say, I don't know what it is. Can you tell me what it is? So just give something. And beginning a question, I always say, if it's physics, it's probably going to be like energy, forces, momentum. Just like try those.
Yeah, just like as you said, just give some feedback, like just say the most basic things that you can think of to do with the problem, because I know that you think it's not going to lead to the right answer, and it's probably not going to, but at least they can see that you know the basics, and then you can ask them. Like, the tutors are literally there to help you learn, so if you ask them questions, they'll be happy about that.
Yeah, I would agree completely. The tutors are there to teach you, and so if you are struggling, that's not something that's not normal to them. They don't expect everyone to know every question. Like I say, I really didn't understand one question, so I can speak from experience that the way I handled it was, I remember it was differentiating an e to the 2x or something along those lines. So they could see that I was struggling, so they made the question a little bit easier and just asked, what is differentiation? Now, I didn't have the initiative at the time to say, okay, well, I know that this means this and this means this. I was just responding to them. But if I was able to, I don't know, almost take it simpler first and work up to the question that they'd asked, it may have, I don't know, either jogged something in your own memory or at least given them the insight that you were struggling with a particular part.
Yeah, I definitely think the tutors would prefer a discussion rather than it being one-sided. They want you to engage with them because they want to see how you would like fit in a tutorial type of environment. They want to see that you would be able to interact with them. And yeah, I think if you're stuck on something, I wouldn't suffer in silence. I would, because what I did at least, as I did the problem, I'd be like, is this correct? Is this okay? And they'd be like, yes, or, ooh, check this bit. So like, don't be afraid to say things to them like, I'm struggling with this. Is this correct? Or this is my idea. And yeah, they'll point you in the right direction, or yeah, if they see you okay with the problem, they'll push you. And yeah, it's just, you got to see where it leads you.
Oh yeah, these are all great answers, guys. Yeah, like definitely to echo it, like listening and speaking, it's like a discussion. So the more you say and the more you ask, like the more you can get out of it. And I think that's the importance of like writing things down and speaking out loud, is that they can then direct you if you're going along the wrong line, which I definitely did a couple of times. But just being able to listen to cues and like have a conversation is really important. So does anyone have anything else to add that we may have missed off that you think is really important?
I think one thing that's worth doing as well before you have an interview is it's so easy to say, oh, have a mock interview, but like I didn't have a mock interview. I couldn't find anyone to do a mock interview with me. But especially with the online interviews, make sure that you can explain things verbally. So even if that's just like going to your parent or sibling or something and trying to explain to them how something works, or like how to differentiate or what that means, just at least try it. Like, I know it probably seems a bit redundant and silly at the time to go to your sister who doesn't care, but it's just having that practice of explaining your thought process, because just going in straight without ever having to practice that, you're going to struggle. So it's important to just try, because especially when you don't have paper in front of you physically and you need to be able to express yourself more in words, just make sure that you practice that, because I think that's something that we've probably all found moving over to online tutorials as well, is that it's quite different having to explain in person, where it's quite hard to write down on paper and show them, where like you would have that benefit in an in-person interview. So just try and practice that.
Is that a possibility? Sorry, I'm jumping in here.
So am I.
Possibility to, I don't know, have a bit of paper in your online interviews, just even if you're,
I think you should.
If you have to work something out, or if you need to do a sketch, or even if you want to write down some notes about what they're saying, I feel like a bit of paper is never going to hurt to have in front of you in these.
And if you want to show them what you're writing as well, make sure you have a Sharpie or a thick pen.
Yeah, like maybe you can also try practice with your friends, or like maybe there's a teacher at your school, just like your tutor, just ask if they would be willing to practice with you.
Any other general comments? These are all amazing, guys. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, maybe one thing worth saying is after your interview, you can never tell if you've done well or not. So don't try and analyze how it went. I've heard so many varied experiences. True. Some people thought they did horribly and got in. Some people thought they nailed it and didn't get in. Some people thought they nailed it and got in. Some people thought they didn't nail it and didn't nail it and didn't get in. You know, you just don't know.
Yeah. And also, just does anyone have anything to say before I close? Okay. So just to end it, I think it's quite nice to like just know that even being invited to an interview is like amazing. So like enjoy that, celebrate that once it's over. And like I think coming from all of us, we all hope it goes well. And yeah, like hopefully see you soon, or if not, see you sometime another